The Stoics and Jung both warned us, the more you chase happiness, the more it evades you. Why? Because you've made a feeling your master. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life, yet you keep adding more." And Jung saw it clearly. What you resist within will rule you from the shadows. Look closely. Are you pursuing joy or fleeing discomfort? The truth is uncomfortable. Happiness is a byproduct, not a goal. Meaning is forged in what you avoid. And until you face that, satisfaction will always slip through your hands. The more you chase happiness as a goal, the more you train your mind to feel its absence. When you treat happiness like a destination, every present moment becomes a measuring stick for what is missing, and suddenly your life is no longer lived, it is evaluated. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." Yet modern life teaches you the opposite, that happiness is always one step ahead. Jung observed that what you resist persists, and in your relentless pursuit of feeling good, you begin resisting anything that feels uncomfortable, uncertain, or painful. Ironically, this resistance amplifies suffering. You start thinking, "I should be happier than this," and that quiet sentence becomes a chronic dissatisfaction. Notice how even your best moments are shadowed by the fear they won't last. This is the trap. By making happiness the goal, you turn it into something fragile and conditional. A simple exercise reveals this clearly. At the end of your day, instead of asking, "Was I happy?" ask, "Was I engaged? Did I act with integrity? Did I face something difficult honestly?" You'll find that meaning grows in places happiness cannot be forced. Stoicism teaches the dichotomy of control. You control your actions, not your emotional weather. Jungian psychology reminds you that wholeness includes both light and shadow. So stop chasing the feeling and start building a life that can hold every feeling. Paradoxically, that is where a quieter, more stable form of happiness begins to emerge. Hedonic adaptation ensures that pleasure fades quickly, leaving you trapped in an endless cycle of wanting more. Think about the last time you achieved something you thought would finally make you feel complete, a new job, a relationship, a milestone. For a moment, there was a surge of satisfaction, and then, almost imperceptibly, it became normal. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This is not a moral judgment, it is a psychological reality. Your nervous system is designed to normalize pleasure, not preserve it. Jung would say that when you identify too strongly with the persona, the version of yourself that achieves and accumulates, you disconnect from the deeper self that seeks meaning, not stimulation. The result is a subtle emptiness that no amount of external success can fill. You begin to escalate your desires, thinking the next achievement will finally stick. But it never does. The Stoics practiced negative visualization, imagining loss not to become pessimistic, but to break this cycle of entitlement and restore appreciation. Try this. Take something you currently take for granted, your health, a relationship, your daily routine, and imagine, vividly, that it is gone. Feel the weight of that absence. Then return to the present and notice how your perception shifts. This isn't about denying pleasure, it's about freeing yourself from dependence on it. When you stop expecting pleasure to sustain you, you can finally experience it without being enslaved by it. Avoiding discomfort in the name of happiness keeps your shadow unconscious and quietly in control of your life. Jung famously said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Yet the modern pursuit of happiness encourages you to curate your experience, to filter out anything that feels heavy, painful, or inconvenient. But what you push away does not disappear. It sinks beneath the surface and shapes your behavior from the shadows. That unexplained irritation, that recurring self-sabotage, that quiet sense of emptiness, these are not random. They are signals from parts of you that have been rejected in the name of feeling good. The Stoics understood this in a different language. Epictetus taught that it is not events that disturb you, but your judgments about them. When you label discomfort as something to be avoided at all costs, you give it power over you. Consider this. What if discomfort is not the enemy, but the doorway? The next time you feel resistance, procrastination, anxiety, anger, pause instead of escaping, ask yourself, what part of me is trying to be seen right now? Write it down without censoring it. You may discover resentment you've been ignoring, fears you've been outrunning, or desires you've been denying. This is shadow work in its simplest form. When you face these parts consciously, they lose their unconscious grip. Happiness, then, is no longer a fragile state you must protect, but a byproduct of becoming whole. When happiness becomes the purpose of your life, you lose a deeper sense of meaning that can sustain you through suffering. The Stoics never promised a life of constant pleasure. They promised a life of resilience, dignity, and inner alignment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is a radically different orientation to life. It suggests that meaning is not found in avoiding difficulty, but in engaging with it fully. Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming who you truly are, not who you think will make you happy. And this journey is often uncomfortable. It asks you to confront truths you would rather avoid, to take responsibility for your life, and to walk paths that are uncertain. But here's the paradox. Meaning can hold suffering in a way happiness never can. If your only goal is to feel good, then pain becomes an interruption. But if your goal is to live meaningfully, then pain becomes part of the path. Reflect on this question. What would still matter to me, even if it didn't make me happy in the moment? Your answer points directly to your purpose. When you orient your life around that, happiness stops being something you chase and starts being something that visits you, quietly, along the way. True contentment comes from accepting life as it is, not from trying to force it to match your idea of happiness. The Stoics had a phrase for this, amor fati, the love of fate. It does not mean passive resignation. It means an active embrace of reality, exactly as it unfolds. Epictetus put it simply, do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do happen, and you will go on well. This is deeply aligned with Jung's insight that psychological suffering often comes from the gap between who you think you should be and who you actually are. When you chase happiness, you are often chasing an image, a perfected version of life where everything feels right all the time. But reality is messier, more complex, and far more interesting. Try this shift. Instead of asking, how can I be happy today? Ask, can I fully accept today? Notice the resistance that arises. Notice the judgments, the expectations, the quiet demands that life should be different. Then, gently, let them go. This does not mean you stop improving your life. It means you stop fighting the present moment. In that space, something unexpected happens. You feel lighter, not because everything is perfect, but because you are no longer at war with what is. And in that acceptance, a deeper, more grounded form of contentment begins to take root, one that no longer slips through your hands.